In the last video, we talked about the pit of poverty, the place where most men are trapped without even realizing it. We broke down the lies that keep you stuck, and the frame that limits your thinking, and the truth that change alone will never save you. Only transformation can. If you watched that video and felt called out, good, that means you're awake. And once you're awake, you can never go back to sleep. But here's the real question. If that was the pit, what does the peak look like? What happens when you finally reclaim your power, your clarity, and your leadership? What does a life look like when you're not just surviving, but thriving? So let's talk about this peak of prosperity. This is a life that's possible when you stop operating as a weak man and stop reacting to life and start leading it. Here's what that looks like. You walk into a room and people can feel your presence. Your wife looks at you differently. Your kids look up to you, and other men respect you. You don't need to demand respect. You command it by how you show up. Your wife starts chasing you. Attraction comes back, not because you begged for it, but because you became the man that naturally creates it. She leans into you instead of pulling away. She craves your presence, your touch, your leadership. You're no longer confused or lost. You wake up every single day with certainty. You know exactly what needs to be done, and you move with purpose. No more second guessing yourself. No more overthinking. You feel like a king inside your own home. You are no longer a passenger in your own life. You own your space. You lead with confidence, and you never have to wonder, does she even respect me? Again. Now, sex is different. It's no longer transactional duty. It's a passionate, primal connection. And it's not because you figured out foreplay. It's because attraction is a byproduct of leadership. When your wife sees you as a strong, decisive leader, desire naturally follows. This is what life looks like at the peak. And if you think it sounds impossible, I promise you, it's not. But most men will never get there. Not because they aren't capable, but because they never escape the gap. So what is the gap? Going back to the iPad, this is the pit, and then up here, this is the peak of prosperity. That's where you are. The distance between these two places, that is where the gap is. Another way to look at it is like that. Either way you look at it, the gap is the spot between the pit and the peak. Inside this gap, this is the space where all transformation takes place. And this is where most men get stuck. You might be thinking, okay, I get it. I need a change. I need to show up differently. But how? Where do I even start? See, that's the gap talking. Every man who has ever transformed his life has had to cross this space, but very few do because they fall victim to one of these three lies. Lie number one, I just need more time. So you tell yourself that you'll deal with your marriage later and that you'll focus on yourself when things settle down, but nothing will ever change until you decide to transform it. Lie number two, I can figure this out on my own. Well, if you could, you would have done that by now, but you don't need more information. You need transformation, and that requires a system. Lie number three, well, maybe I just need to wait for her to come around. Well, if waiting worked, wouldn't you think that would have worked by now? Women follow strong men, and she won't change until you do. So if these lies are keeping you stuck, what actually closes this gap? You need a proven path, and that path is vow and victory. I created this because I was once exactly where you are now. I know what it's like to feel lost, disrespected, and disconnected, and I know what it takes to rebuild not just your marriage, but yourself, your confidence, your leadership, your power. There is no magic fix. There is no one thing that will suddenly make her love and respect you again, but there is a process, a battle-tested system that gets results. Whether you use me, use someone else, it's this system that will get you results, right? It's a path that has helped men just like you reclaim their masculinity, rebuild their marriages, and live with unshakable confidence. And in the next video, I'm going to break down that path for you. But before we get there, you need to ask yourself one question. Are you ready to cross the gap, or are you going to stay stuck in the pit? Because if you're serious about this, if you're done feeling weak, ignored, and disrespected, then let's talk. Click on the link below, apply for a call, and let's map out exactly how you go from the pit to the peak. And in the next video, we're going to be deep diving into the path, the exact steps that you need to take to make this transformation real. But before you watch that, take that first step, click the link below, apply, and let's get to work.